My name is Absurge. I play Wrestle Shaman.
I'm Walter Bear. I play Feral Druid.
I'm Vossel. I play Affliction Warlock for FolloweSports.com.
We're pretty much the only FLS in jungle on US, and even all of the world. I think we're by far better than the others. I've been playing WoW since it came out, so almost 11 years.
I've been playing competitively for about 2 years, and I've been pretty high on the ladder, but this is my first time playing in an actual LAN tournament.
I've been playing competitively for maybe a year, maybe even less.
We generally practice a lot. Normally we just play a few hours of hardcore games, and then we just try to relax, not get too stressed out. A few hours is kind of like the breaking point. An hour or two of practice is fine, and then normally we take a break and come back later.
We get along really well, and it just helps with communication, and we kind of just let egos go to the side and focus more on improving and stuff like that.
We've just all been hanging out together recently, so whenever we're not practicing, we're all just together as a team, or even a few of the other US teams. For the most part, meeting everyone here at Regionals and BlizzCon is pretty exciting. Everyone seems to be really nice in person.
There's definitely some teams here that don't necessarily improve as much as they could because they're held back by their egos from previous tournaments and stuff like that.
I think I pretty much proved after Regionals I'm the best shaman in the game right now.
Hello, my name is Raikou and I play Mage for Capped EU.
Hello, my name is Healingstad and I will be playing Restoration Druid and Holy Paladin for Capped.
I'm Pry and I play Rogue for Capped.
I'm Vilay, I'm the team captain of Capped EU.
For us it's really important to be here because I think we are one of the strongest teams in EU.
We actually only came together about a week before the first qualifier, yeah. We had a little bit of a bumpy start, but our synergy's much stronger now.
We've prepared for every single team that's here.
None of the US teams have ever played at BlizzCon before. A lot of us have played at multiple regionals or qualified for multiple regionals.
Everyone underestimates North American teams, and I tell my team every time, don't underestimate them.
We are certain we're going to beat the NA teams at this BlizzCon.
I think there is no team I'm really scared of because we can beat everyone here.
SK Gaming, I wouldn't mind knocking out. They're really strong players and they play a really good comp.
We really do see SK Gaming being a big milestone for us.
I really want to knock out SK Gaming because we lost 3-2 on regionals against them.
They're pretty cocky as well, really cocky. So if they lost, I wouldn't mind.
Our rogue Prey has even lost sleep because of countless nights he wakes up in the middle of the night, he starts typing in Skype that he has a new strategy he wants to try out tomorrow.
We were kind of obsessed about beating them now.
This time we're not going to lose against them.
An event, a moment for people to come together.
We are thrilled that you are here.
Hello, BlizzCon. This community is everything.
The World of Warcraft World Championship is brought to you in part by Intel, Windows 10, T-Mobile, and MasterCard.
Hey guys, welcome back to the World of Warcraft Arena World Championships live in Burbank, California. We just saw Tempo Storm 2-0 Solari Gaming in the first NA versus EU matchup of the day. Up next, we've got FolloweSports versus Capped EU, another North America versus EU matchup. Now it's very similar. We're seeing the Jungle Cleave from North America fight potentially the R&D of EU. Wouldn't that be a fun matchup? I'm not really sure what they're going to pick, but let's throw it over to the casters and see what they think.
All right, thanks so much, Jackson. I'm back here at the caster desk once again. Really excited for this upcoming matchup. I was watching the last one backstage. That was it was a good showing coming out of Tempo Storm, I think, to put it mildly. That was Tempo Storm looking very strong in that last matchup. And now that we're having a similar one here once again between these two teams with potentially the similar comps as well, I'm actually really interested to see how this is going to work out.
I think it's really important that all of these teams here, you know, they're very confident in themselves and their ability, but no one should be underestimating anyone. I think all of these teams are incredible and they deserve to be here. So make sure, this is a warning to you all, like make sure you guys are playing your best and expect to play against really good people.
Yeah, definitely. We saw Absturge with a lot of confidence stating that he's the best resto shaman in the game, and that's something that can't be said without actions to back it up, and he's going to have the chance to do it here at BlizzCon, and his first competition is going to be Capped EU, which can play Rogue, Mage, Restoration Druid. They can substitute in Valet on Shadow Priest as well to play the Holy Paladin Shatter play. I'm curious to see which composition both of these teams are going to lead off with.
Yeah, I'm excited to see when the draft finally comes up, like you said, to see. And I mean, a lot of this too, I think, is a little bit of a guess. I mean, no one knows for sure what the other team is going to run, so they're going to have to guess and put their best foot forward and kind of, yeah, basically throw out the first composition needs to be what their best chance is to win, I think.
Yeah, definitely. We will get that draft for you guys here very shortly, and we'll find out exactly what these two teams are going to be playing. But first, let's go ahead and take a look at the brackets for today and see how the three matches we've played out previously went down. Of course, the first game that we played put SK Gaming up 2-0 against Original Gangstar. That means that they will then be facing off against Solari Gaming, who lost 2-0 to Tempo Storm in that last match that we just saw down in the lower bracket. Of course, in the upper bracket, that does mean that we will have SK Gaming versus Tempo Storm coming up tomorrow. So those are two matches to watch for tomorrow that are going to be really exciting to see. And then looking over to Group B, if we can take a look at that here real quick. Earlier we had Cloud9 going 2-0 versus Do It For Fun, but that series, seriously, 2-0 does not justify how that series went. It was so ridiculously close. And then this next series that's coming up is going to have Capped EU versus FolloweSports in a battle to not have to go up against Do It For Fun in the lower bracket.
Yeah, I know. Cloud9 and both Do It For Fun are looking and to see, but both of them are going to be watching this match to see who their opponents are coming up next so they can sort of start to get their game plan ready.
Yep. And again, there's going to be two teams eliminated throughout this weekend. If you want to play on the BlizzCon stage, if you want to play to get first place, you definitely need to stay in it. If you lose 2 series in a row in the tournament today and tomorrow, you're eliminated. Obviously, you got a paid vacation, so you still get something out of it. But all these teams have so much pride on the line. They're definitely playing, I would say, more for the game than the money at this point. The title of BlizzCon champion is something that you can only achieve once a year.
Yeah, it's basically what you put, like we've been saying, that's kind of how you beat the game in PvP, is this is the thing to win. So this is, of course, very important to a lot of these players who have put a lot of time and effort to get good at this game.
Yeah, absolutely, and let's bring those players out onto the stage. Hailing from North America, our first team is going to be FolloweSports. All right, there they are, Team FolloweSports. Jellybean smiling for the camera there, right up in front. Of course, sitting right behind him is Vossel, followed by Absturge, and then Walter Bear down at the end. These guys, we saw some really impressive play from them at the Americas Regionals. They ended up coming in third at the Americas Regionals to get here, but the games that they played were all super close. It was a really good series that they played against, I believe it was Luminosity, that they played against to actually qualify for the Arena World Championship here at opening week. I'm definitely looking to see some really solid play coming out of these guys, but of course we do have one other team to introduce, and hailing from Europe, that's going to be Capped EU. I love the rock paper scissors.
Yeah.
Where they you can tell that they play RMD sometimes. They're used to rock paper scissors.
Yeah, of course, on the right, we do have Pry next to him, Healing Stat, then Raikou, and Valet. So those are the 4 members of Team Skill Capped EU, running primarily Rogue Mage Druid and that Holy Paladin God comp.
Yeah, and I think Pry takes the title of the loudest player. He has a very commanding play style in the practice area. I wouldn't even be surprised where mics could pick him up from over here. He's that into the game, and it's really important to have that kind of hype on your team. Sometimes if you're down a game, you need to keep momentum, you need to keep your head above water so that you don't end up drowning in a series. So Pry definitely has the confidence and the volume to support it. So I'm really excited to see these teams match up against each other. I'm curious if the positioning of the players is going to give away what comps they're starting off with at all. We could see Absterge, Walter, and Vossel staying together as 3. So maybe expecting the Feralock Shaman out from FolloweSports.
But we do actually have that draft ready and available, so we can find out which 2 compositions these teams have locked in. Of course, they will be playing on the Grand Arena, but for FolloweSports, it is going to be that Feral Warlock Shaman composition. And then, of course, for Skill Capped EU, you can see it's going to be that RMD, the Rogue Mage Druid, going with the rock, paper, scissors here. I don't know why I like to call that rock, paper, scissors all of a sudden. That's just something that came up in literally the past like 30 seconds, but I still really appreciate the RMD coming out from Skill Capped EU. They've played it before. They're really, really, really good at it.
You know, one of the things that has been happening too at this event is a lot of the North American teams have sort of stuck together, and they want to show that they're better than Europe, and I'm sure the European teams have done the same thing, and they've been practicing against each other, making sure that, you know, they can beat. So I'm sure FolloweSports has been playing against Cloud9 quite a bit in order for them to actually beat Skill Capped in this matchup.
And what's interesting about the European region is that the Rogues typically play combat instead of subtlety. That allows them to a lot more consistent damage, but not so much burst. So even for FolloweSports to have so much practice, I'm curious to see if they're prepared for the combat specialization out from Pry.
Yeah, it's interesting. The combat spec, it does have a lot more of that burst, like you were saying, once that Killing Spree comes up. And it can be really tough to actually peel them. Of course, Killing Spree was actually nerfed a couple of seasons ago, where it allowed, they can now be stunned during that Killing Spree, which at the beginning of Warlords, combat with Killing Spree was just crazy. Like, they pushed the button, and it's just tons of damage. There wasn't really anything you could do about it.
One-man killing machine. You can't really, there's nothing you can do about it. That was a good change that they put in the game. Stuff like that has been happening all season, which has been really, really great. So they're going to have to look out for that red buff Killing Spree and make sure that they interrupt it so they're not taking all that damage.
It's curious that the North American team, FolloweSports, are going to be leading with the Feralock Shaman, because we saw in the European region that they felt the Jungle Cleave was going to be better potentially in the first matchup. So I'm curious to see how this plays out. I know for a fact that FolloweSports during the North American regionals put up a good fight against the Rogue Mage Druids from there, and they consider Skill Capped EU to be the weaker one. So if that is a proven fact and not just opinion, it's definitely smart of them to lead with this composition.
Yeah, I think it's going to be very interesting to see as this sort of progresses just how well Skill Capped can keep up their CC chains as well. Like the series before the last one that we were watching, where we saw Cloud9 just hitting those perfect timings with their CCs, even after they figured out the Orc Racial and how that sort of messed with their timings a little bit. It really showed just the strength of that RMD composition and how it can really just lock down a healer for an extended period of time. So as this game is just about to get underway, we will very soon be finding out the answers to all of these questions of whether it's going to be FolloweSports or Skill Capped EU that will continue along in this tournament, at least in the upper bracket.
Yeah, and sort of talk about how this matchup is going to be broken down. We're going to have FolloweSports most likely just trying to disrupt the CC. They put out a lot of damage. That's what they need to do. They need to make sure they stop the CC so they don't die and put out as much damage as possible, whereas the RMD needs to make sure that they have very coordinated bursts, make sure the crowd control is on point, and make sure not to die. If they get in trouble, they need to pull back, try to reset the best they can.
Yeah, Wallabear has been the main target for RMDs in general as the Feral Druid. So look to see if Wallabear can survive the onslaught out from Skill Capped EU as we jump into the game. Wallabear proved himself through the North American regions to be the most survivalist Druid amongst all the Feral Druids that have been competing. He lives the longest. That's exactly what he needs to do.
Yep, so we are going to follow Pry out of here. He's going to be looking for that opener, probably going to try to go for that sap onto the Shaman. That seems to be the most common way for these Rogue Mage Druid teams to want to open up. He's going to try to get a sap onto Absterge. Of course, Raikou and Raikou and Talby are both able to keep themselves pretty hidden as well. I should point out that Talby is healing stat. He does actually kind of have 2 different names that he goes by, but here we go. The sap does go out onto Absterge. Vossel immediately going to gateway out of there after he gets caught into that kidney shot. Trinkets it immediately and gateways out. Absterge still caught into a sheep, into a cyclone as well, and they are now trying to continue to keep up this damage onto Vossel, but he's done a great job getting over here out of line of sight and making sure that they can't actually get over over to him very easily.
And Pry actually doing a pretty cool job there in the opener, make sure to use that depth from above so WoW wasn't actually able to get a stun on him, so he did a great job there. Vossel just pulling back, summoning up his pet. Really not too much achieved there in the opener. Vossel did use his trinket, but that's really all we saw out of these two teams.
Yeah, triple Shadow Fury out from Vossel. Dark Soul coming out, looking for some pressure, building it up onto Talby, but Talby displaces back to the center field. He's going to be completely fine. Vossel loading up full dots onto the team, doing a good job so far. There's the full kidney shot. Are they going to follow it up with the damage is the question. Pry building up towards that red buff. Full bash on the wall, full deep onto Absurge. Good cross EC out from skill Capped EU. They secure the clone, they secure the poly. Vossel could be in a bit of trouble as he pops that Dark Regeneration to heal back up. Pry lands the kick onto that unstable affliction, and we can see Wallace still getting cloned up. Good crowd control chains out from skill Capped EU thus far, but they don't have the damage to follow it up. Where is it?
Yeah, Vossel is just completely fine. He's going to be using that Soulborn port, just running around, preventing some of that damage. Another Shadow Fury coming out onto Pry. Talby doing a good job staying back and making sure he doesn't get CC'd. Vossel having a hard time actually getting Fears out onto him right now. The Stampeding Roar coming out of Wallabear. This is the deep freeze though onto Absurge, the full blind onto Wallabear, who does have that Berserk pop. I don't think he stacked. Oh, he did. He ended up stacking it with his Incarnation. So he gets blinded on those cooldowns. Decides not to trinket. Vossel in a little trouble though. Caught into the full kitty shot. Absurge does have a trinket link available. Gets the Spirit Link off before going into that clone. So Vossel's going to be completely fine for now, but still not completely out of the woods. It looks like the DR clone coming out, gating away, doing the best he can to get away and survive. Porting back to Absurge. Going to be completely fine for the moment.
Yeah, unfortunately, Wallabear was not in that Spirit Link, so they didn't get the health from him. So Vossel was in kind of a scary situation there for just a second, but he did manage to kite very effectively and get away. One thing that Skill Capped has been doing up until very recently is they've actually been killing Vossel's pet as much as possible. That's why we weren't seeing quite as much damage going on to FolloweSports, because they were actually putting their damage into that pet. Now, of course, the pet is still active, and they're just going straight after Vossel, getting him not into that kidney shot. Yet again, another kidney shot coming off of that. Absurge into a Cyclone. Vossel in a lot of trouble, but the second Spirit Link is going to come out from Absurge. He did have that trinket available to get that trinket lick off, just barely saving Vossel in the nick of time.
Yeah, well timed from Absurge. Good trade, but now in this position with no trinket, Skill Capped EU are going to be looking to set up a kill potentially. Wallabear holding onto his trinket smartly. He doesn't want to open himself up as a target, going for that defensive clone over onto Pry. Looks like they're still trying to build up some pressure here right now onto Raikou, as he is fully dotted, fully bled up. Deep Freeze is now available if Raikou chooses to move in here shortly. Vossel seems to be the primary target. Dark Regeneration coming up here shortly though. FolloweSports should be all right. Talby starting to run out of mana. Here comes the setup. Deep Freeze poly lands on Absurge. Full clone onto Walla. Walla trinkets out. Red Spree out from Pry. A lot of damage onto Vossel. Dark Regeneration comes out immediately to try and heal through it. The polys are chaining through onto Absurge. He breaks it with the Comet Storm. Absurge needs to get some heals. He's trying to stop the Cyclones. He misses the Wind Shear. Grounds the follow-up clone, and Vossel is going to survive another setup.
Yeah, Absurge able to got those Spirit Walker's Grace heals out onto him, so he's going to be completely fine. Raikou, though, getting a little bit low. Talby actually having a huge trouble with his mana right now. I believe he's down to around 28% mana. So as this game goes on, unless he can get a drink, his team's just going to get rotted lower and lower. I mean, that's what FolloweSports wants. They want this game to go on long. Raikou actually caught into a full main right now, loaded up with Haunt. Gets dispelled by Talby Tree. Talby, I think, is going to be displacing back, trying to actually go for a drink. He realizes mana is big trouble. So this RMD of Skill Capped EU is going to pull back, just try to prevent as much damage as possible, and Talby's just going to drink to full. And there's not too much Vossel and Wallabear and Absurge can do to stop him.
Yeah, Talby just sitting back here, drinking up 83% mana now on Talby, putting him actually above Absurge, who was in a commanding lead just a second ago in terms of mana. So now Skill Capped EU playing defensively here for just a second. Looks like they may actually be looking for... No, actually, I'm incorrect. I thought that the Vossel's pet was over there and they were going to kill it, but no, both teams are just kind of hanging out behind the pillars. Like, no, you go. No, you go. Just waiting for the other person to actually move out. But Pry has gotten himself into stealth again, gets that sap out on a Vossel. They're actually just looking to reset this and get another opener off.
And Wallabear actually using his Berserk and Incarnation right away. Wants to go very, very offensive. Gets caught into that cheap shot. He doesn't have Trinket available, so if he gets CC'd on these cooldowns, it's going to be really hard for them to generate some pressure. Absurge actually going into the full kidney shot, able to get some heals off on himself. That was the Frozen Orb coming out from Raikou, as well as the Adrenaline Rush from Pry. So Absurge still taking quite a bit of damage. It looks like he is going to be completely fine. Pry actually getting the Iron Breath from Talby, also taking a lot of damage, but he does have Iron Breath as well as Feint. Not going to be taking too much. Gets topped off by Talby, and it looks like this RMD is going to be fun.
Yeah, now we see the full kidney shot onto Vossel. He has no Dark Regeneration for 8 more seconds. Absurge's trinket just comes out, bops the Ascendance. Now we can see FolloweSports rotating the pressure and momentum around. Raikou getting cloned up at low HP. Pry getting swapped to down to 40%. Talby desperately trying to pick his team back up. That drink that he got earlier was so important here. He's going to choose to use the Barskin on that bash, and Walla's going to clone him up. Really well played from Walla. Reading the cooldown, cloning him up, switching the pressure over onto Raikou. Raikou does have 2 more ice blocks available, so as long as he presses it, he should be all right.
Yeah, it's actually really interesting to note how little they've been going after Raikou. A lot of times, the North American teams, you'll see them going after the mage constantly, just trying to get through the 2 ice blocks, but in this case, it seems almost like they're focusing focusing primarily on Pry. Of course, as I say that, WoW jumps over and starts putting a bunch of damage into Raikou, just trying to keep Talby on his toes. Now a full fear onto Talby, but they're still putting so much damage into Vossel at the same time. Absterge not entirely out of the woods, but he is managing to get those heals off as no major CC was landing on him just yet. Now switching it back around onto Pry once again. Wallabear putting some damage into him. Looks like, I'm guessing that their strategy here is to try to catch Pry without his feint up and try to just blow him up inside of a stun. But Pry is just a little bit too good for that. He's keeping that feint up non-stop, wants to make sure there is no possibility for them to swap over to him and blow him up that quick.
I really like what FolloweSports is doing. They're playing that Shaman Pillar game very, very well. Wallabear actually doing an excellent job making Raikou's life a nightmare, using that Typhoon as well as his kick and Cyclones to sort of shut down his crowd control, make sure he's not able to get too many Icicles. But Wallabear actually caught into the full kidney shot right now. Still has no trinket available. He just have 2 charges of Survival Instinct, so if he gets out of the stun, he's going to be able to pop it. Stops the follow-up CC. Absterge still in that Polymorph, though, at the moment. Gets DR Polymorph by Raikou, but Raikou and Talby both getting dangerously low. Barkstein coming out from Talby, using that NS, able to top himself off. Walter Bear still very low. Absterge actually dropping the Spirit Link. Wallabear is able to get into it. Beautiful Spirit Link by Absterge there. I believe he actually also had to use his trinket.
Yeah, he did. So Skill Capped EU are in another position where the next setup could be the kill. There's no trinkets available for FolloweSports. We can see that Skill Capped EU know that they have this game in the bag. They're just going to rotate back, look for a complete reset, maybe even allow Talby to drink, play for a little bit more of a later stage of the game. We can see the pet getting killed off, but Vossel's already preparing for that, resummoning it behind the pillar. We see Pry running in, not even going to go for a re-stealth. He does not gain the advantages of that like a subtlety rogue. Raikou trying to pop Wallabear out of stealth. Wall is actually immediately opening onto Talby. He has no Bartskin available. Playing so greedy, and he's going to possibly go down. He trinkets air, barely surviving at 12% HP. If dampening was just a little bit higher, he's still going down to the dots, struggling to heal through the pressure. A blind onto Walla, but that blind is no longer available for the Incarnation. FolloweSports need to survive this kidney shot. Just, there's no damage coming up from Pry and Raikou right now. Great counterspell onto the Frost Tree of Raikou. Now the image kidney shot following it up onto Absterge as he pops that Aura Mastery, trying to pick himself back up. FolloweSports could have this game in the bag. There's the Incarnation out from Walla, but he didn't really get anything done with it. Absterge needs to stabilize himself. He's got his trinket coming up in about 50 seconds. Spirit Link is available for him as well. Absterge needs to make sure that he pre-links the next incoming CC.
Talby spent 50% of his mana bar in that last exchange. 50%.
Yeah, very intensive healing. This is dampening at 20%, so I feel like the more this RMD pulls back, they're kind of playing into the advantages of FolloweSports, letting them reset. Absterge Trinket's going to be up in 30 seconds. Vossel has his Dark Regeneration. Trinket coming up for him in 20 seconds. They're going to have a lot of defensive cooldowns that they can work and rotate through, and it's going to be so hard for Talby to heal through and keep his team offensive if they don't manage to make something happen right away. And I think this is looking good for FolloweSports.
Yeah, it really is. They're playing into the dampening game very well. Absterge's Trinket is coming up. FolloweSports have a lot of cooldowns left. All of their trinkets are coming up. This is looking great for FolloweSports. If they can stay alive just a little bit longer, they've caught Talby off a little bit, but now the dampening is a bit higher. Talby could end up going down in a potential setup like that. Absterge's getting sapped. Nice Shadow Fury out from Vossel, reading the position, but they are going to follow it up with a kidney shot. Vossel trinkets out right away. He needs to get some dots rolling. They need the damage, but he does get locked out by Pry as he's dipping down to half HP. Absterge's trying to ground some incoming CC, goes for the Ascendance, gift of the Naro. He needs to pick Vossel back up. Vossel gates away, pops the Dark Regeneration. Pry goes for the killing spree. Will they be able to chop right through it? He's down at 39% HP. Gouge over onto Walla to try and crowd control him. Clone onto Absterge. Vossel completely alone at the moment, down at 30% HP. Absterge has the Trinket Link. He's going to pre-link the next incoming CC, stabilize his team. FolloweSports needs to get some damage, and they need to get it now.
Yeah, they need to turn this around in a hurry, and it looks like they're trying to do that onto Raikou right now. Wallabear is chasing after him constantly, but Vossel caught into another full kidney shot. Absterge into that deep freeze, but no follow-up CC. No, excuse me. The blind comes out. He's going to trinket that right away, but now he has nothing to stop this polymorph. Vossel is running for his life right now. He's got nothing left available. He ports back over, just trying to kite Pry as long as he possibly can, as Absterge is just sitting through polymorph after polymorph into a Cyclone, but he's out of that into a bash right away. How is Vossel still alive? The kidney shot comes out. He's at 16% health.
Healed up from
healing surge.
The smoke bomb tried to deny those incoming heals from the Absterge by Pry. Vossel actually getting offensively cloned there by Talby. Excellent job by him. Absterge is in a nightmare position, has no Spirit Link up for 50 seconds. He has no cooldowns to heal through this. The Garrote coming out from Pry onto Vossel, catches a huge heal from Absterge, but it's not enough. Dampening at 32%. This is so hard for Absterge, who's now caught into that full polymorph. Gateway still not available for Vossel. He only has his port, and I think he's already used it, down to 40% HP. Absterge actually gets out of that CC, does able to get some heals off onto him, but he doesn't have any cooldowns to top him off.
Yeah, also gets locked out. Dampening is so high. Absurge gets deep. They have to stop the CC onto Absurge if they want to win it. Counterspell onto the poly. Ring of Frost follows up. It's only half duration, but that's all they're going to need, I think. The killing spree comes out from Pry, and it's going to finish off Fossil. I hope he's down at 1% and will fall. And Skill Capped EU are going to take game number 1 against FolloweSports. Talby having a lot of close calls. Nonetheless, through that series, great play out from Fossil, hanging in there even to the bitter end. Unfortunately, it wasn't enough. We can see Wallet not giving up for the time being here, but he's not going to take down Talby with this last incarnation attempt. Skill Capped EU cleanly, well, not completely cleanly. That was very hard for them, but they are going to take FolloweSports down in game number 1.
It's so hard for these teams that fight against RMD. Like, the RMD doesn't overextend, and you know, they realize when they're in trouble and they can pull back. There's not much you can do. It's hard to cross the map and try to do anything to them. So if they play safe and play well like they did that game, Skill Capped really showing the power of RMD in that game. I mean, that was really close. Wallabear actually had his incarnation as well as his Berserk up and ready to go near the end of that game. So if they could just live a little bit longer, that might have been the end for Skill Capped.
Yeah, FolloweSports is actually still in the game, battling it out with just Wallabear and Absurge. It's not looking too great for them at this point, so that's why it's not up on your screen right now. But they're actually just going for it as much as they possibly can, just trying their best to make something happen here. But yeah, I believe it says, yeah, they have just dropped out of the game. So that is going to be that first game confirmed for Skill Capped EU, going up 1-0 over FolloweSports. But that was a ridiculously close match in so many situations. I don't know how Vazel lived nearly as long as he did. That is just, I'm blown away.
Yeah. Me too. And I think one of the things that maybe should have happened in that game is at some point FolloweSports, when they realized they had like the damage, when they had the damage and they had the defensive cooldowns, maybe they should have pushed and overextended. But
yeah,
it can be scary.
There was that one position where trinkets just came up for their entire team, but they kind of had to hang back. I mean, Skill Capped EU were just resetting over and over, and those resets are really good for FolloweSports early on in the game, because they do need dampening, I think, to secure it. Unless Talby really gets caught off guard in a bad position, I don't think he's going to go down. Even at 13% dampening, he went down to 7% HP. I was really surprised that he actually got away living there. But now moving into the second map, it means that the teams are going to draft their compositions and the map. So a map selection again for a team like FolloweSports could allow Skill Capped EU to read what comp they're going to want to pick and try and counteract it. But I don't think we're going to see Valet play Shadow Priest here in this matchup.
I think that game looked good for them. They played it very safe. I mean, there's some scary moments, absolutely. Like you said, Talby Tree getting down to 7% HP. So very, very close game, but it still looked pretty convincing coming out from Skill Capped EU.
Yeah, definitely. I believe we actually have a poll result to take a look at. I was just told that we have a poll to actually take a look at here. So, yeah, here we go. FolloweSports at 33% versus Skill Capped at 67% in this particular poll. I think after that first game, that's probably, it's definitely leaning in that direction, because one of these teams is now up 1 game over the other team. Surprising. That's how math works. But I totally feel like FolloweSports actually has it well within their capabilities to come back from this 1-0 deficit and take this series.
Yeah, they really do. And Skill Capped EU, they got caught and had a couple close calls, but were able to persevere. And I appreciate that they played for those resets, really playing into the strength of their comp very well in game number 1. And we're looking to set up game number 2 as soon as possible. But the teams obviously want to discuss what compositions, what map. They're really thinking it through a lot. This is BlizzCon. This is it.
Yep, absolutely. And we do actually have a Windows 10 game DVR replay with Jackson available, so we'll get into that.
Hey guys, that was an absolutely insane game. A long game, and it featured 2 resets. We should take a look at this replay to see how it all panned out near the end of it. But it seemed like the entire time, FolloweSports was trying to build pressure. Wallabear was constantly in CC, and then when he wasn't in CC, he was always playing defensively. And although dampening does seem to favor a Warlock team like FolloweSports, they were really never able to go as offensive as they want to because Wallabear was constantly in CC. You can see him trying to peel the Cyclones, which is excellent against the Combat Rogue. If you can make them lose their damaging buff, it really relieves a lot of pressure off of your team. But one of the things about a Combat Rogue is, since the pressure is so consistent, it's really hard to recover. And with all those resets, they secure cooldowns, and they come back once those cooldowns are down, and they have their entire CC rotation back up, and they can secure the kill with that. I do think that FolloweSports does still have a chance in this. They just have to find some way to go offensive against this very skilled and very effective Skill Capped EU team. We're going to throw it back to the passers. Get ready for this next game.
Awesome, thank you so much. And we do actually have our draft available, so we can go ahead and take a look and find out what map we're going to, as well as if there have been any comp switches that either of these teams have elected to go for. It looks like we're headed to Blade's Edge Arena, and it's going to be the same compositions again. We're going to get Affliction Warlock, Restoration Shaman, and Feral Druid for FolloweSports, and then Frost Mage, Restoration Druid, Combat Rogue once again for Skill Capped.
So this is what you normally see when a Warlock team is being trained and they die. They always revert to going to Blade's Edge because it's kind of a safety map. You know, they can put their port on top of the bridge, and when they get in trouble, they can jump off the bridge, and the enemy team has two options. They can either chase, and then the Warlock ports up, or they don't chase, and the Warlock just ends up being fine, and the CC runs out on the healer, and then he can port up anyways with no CC left.
Yeah, but I would hope that FolloweSports are prepared for Skill Capped EU to go after Absturge, specifically on this map. If you're going to pick it to gain an advantage with your lock, that's going to open up other players on your team. So Absturge needs to be prepared for that. He doesn't want to go down without trinketing or without linking. That would be terrible in this matchup to lose 0-2 like that. Not to mention the tilt factor losing like that. So Absturge needs to be prepared moving into Blade's Edge Arena, because Skill Capped EU were kind of poking at him a little bit, not really getting a lot done in the Grand Arena, and then keeping to the safe strategy of just locking Vossel down. But if FolloweSports can persevere, keep their damage high, and allow Vossel to have the openness to spread his dots and keep his pressure, it could look good for FolloweSports.
Yeah, absolutely. We do actually have a little bit of a fun fact to show you guys as we do get into this game here, as it's about to fill up, about Skill Capped EU. They were put together at the last minute before the qualifiers, literally last minute, which is why they had a tough time qualifying, but they've obviously done extremely well for themselves since then. So despite being a last-minute team, they are showing their strength very well. And of course, with these players on this team, that's the sort of thing that you would expect from these guys.
Yeah, so probably going to see the same thing. RMD being very, very cautious as they go in, making sure they can get a sap on Absturge right away. Wallabear is going to be sort of the defensive player, pulling back and making sure he can land a stun on a Pry and shut down some of that initial damage, which is what his job and responsibility is.
Yeah, Absturge is prepared for the attack. He's got Earthshield on himself. Let's see if Skill Capped EU are going to make any sort of target changes here in game number 2 on Blade's Edge Arena. So Walla already opening very aggressively on the Pry, down to 42% HP, down to half. And Talby's going to use that NS. Triple Shadow Fury out from Vossel, looking to try and fake cast the counterspell here, trying to go for the haunt, trying to fake it, not falling for him. They are going to go after Absturge. Is he prepared for it? Talby's still down at half HP. And Pry needs to start building up some pressure because FolloweSports are looking dominating in this position. Half kidney shot now into Absturge. He trinkets, he drops the link. He trinkets into a blind. The blind is actually going to break. Walla with his incarnation up is doing an immense amount of pressure. Raikou is forced to block. Pry trying to recover, keeping that feint up, doing a good job so far as Raikou cancels that block, goes for the aggressive play, locks Vossel on that haunt, shutting down his damage and equalizing the game.
Yeah, that opener did not go well for Skill Capped at all. Pry actually got caught out of stealth, and that allowed FolloweSports to just put a whole lot of damage into the entire team of Skill Capped right away, because obviously the rest of the teammates then had to come out of their respective stealths in order to be able to help him out. But now they're trying to turn it back around, putting a whole bunch of damage into Vossel. He's going to go ahead and port away and get over here with Absturge behind the pillar off to the side, and he's going to be okay for the moment. But Absturge just doing a great job keeping himself alive, but has had to use his trinket, one of his spirit links, and his ascendants already in this matchup. So Skill Capped could be actually on the momentum coming back into this match.
Absturge actually doing an excellent job there, dropping that capacitor totem, which actually stunned Raikou when he got hexed out of that. But Absturge now caught into the full polymorph Vossel into the kidney shot. I believe he has his port available if he needs it, so he can just jump off. Yeah, I think he's going to be safe for now, but he's taking a tremendous amount of damage, down to 30% HP, actually having to use his dark regen, jumps off the bridge, ports back up. Absturge needs to get some heals onto him, and right now Talby, Raikou, and Pry are sitting completely pretty. The DR Bash actually going out onto Pry into a full cycle and shutting down some of this damage. Vossel actually caught into that offensive clone by Talby, trying to deny some of those heals, but Vossel wants to go aggressive. He wants to turn around the pressure, pops that Demon Soul, but he actually gets locked out there on his haunt, so not going to be able to accomplish too much with that. In a little bit of trouble in this kidney shot. Absturge positioned very well, able to get some heals off onto him. Vossel's just going to gate away, save his port for a later date, and he's going to be fine.
Yeah, but his Dark Soul really got shut down hard. Now finally getting some dots rolling. He would have liked to pair it with the Dark Soul. There is one coming up in about 4 seconds. Absturge's trinket isn't available for 14. Pressure on to Pry. He pops the evasion, gouges up Walla. Talby tries to pick him back up, uses the Nature Swiftness, tops him off very rapidly. Raikou getting locked out on Frost. FolloweSports trying to play this out a little bit longer. Raikou getting cloned. Raikou trinkets out. Are they going to look for the setup? Absturge grounds the Deep Freeze. He's still going for the Ring of Frost. He doesn't connect it, and that grounding is going to mean that Absturge can hold on his trinket. He pre-links the polymorph. Well done from Absturge. He's going to hold onto his trinket a little bit longer here. Vossel was very much so exposed in that setup, and Walla is really the MVP of the game. Just clone after clone onto all 3 players, doing a great job to lock down around their setup. FolloweSports are looking good starting this game off.
Yeah, Absur's actually playing like a god, making all kinds of plays, capping the mage, making sure he's pre-linking the deep freeze, grounding the deep freeze, like just amazing. He's doing an excellent job. They want to go aggressive. This is what I was talking about. They're pushing in, but now WoW might pay the ultimate price. Has to actually use his trinket as well as his survival instinct. Absur's now caught into that deep freeze sheep, and this is what happens when you push in against R&D. You get overextended, and it's hard without a pillar to stop the CC.
Yeah, FolloweSports, though, doing an amazing job just sort of keeping themselves together. There's more Cyclones coming out from WoW, stopping Pry at 68% health. Talby having to use the Iron Bark and the Bark Skin on himself, just trying to stay alive through so much damage right now. Down to 50% health. He's going to have to Displacer Beast out of there, but that's fine. They're just going to swap over onto Pry and start putting some damage into him instead. Now Pry has to back off. They're trying to kill off Vassal's pet, but that's not what they want to be killing at this point in the match. They want to be killing the actual other team, and Raikou has to Ice Block. So much forced out of Capped EU by FolloweSports right now, who are all just sitting at 100% health, not in any form of danger whatsoever.
Yeah, FolloweSports are looking dominant in game number 2, but they need to be able to execute a kill. Wallabear into the full kidney shot. Absurge needs to save him. He trinkets out of the crowd controls, tries to pick him back up, doing a good job thus far. Grounds the incoming polymorph. Ring of Frost gets dropped. Absurge is actually stuck in it right now with Walla. Walla leaps out of it. Absurge might choose to DR himself here if he wants to. He's trying to wait for this Ring of Frost to fade, and it does end up going down. He should be able to pick up his team just fine. Vassal doing a great job on Blades' Arena, trying to keep his dots rolling here. Talby's Barkskin coming up, though. Talby's going to be feeling very safe. Raikou still with one more block. Absurge might even look for a drink. Talby sitting down for one, and we're kind of seeing a similar playstyle of last time where both teams look for these resets, sitting down to get their mana up, playing for a very, very late game.
Yeah, Pry's actually able to build some damage here, though. He has a target, he has that pet, so he's building up those Sinister Strikes and that buff, which is not what they want. I think they should have pulled it back to try to prevent him from getting that red buff a little bit faster. Vassal getting locked out right there on that haunt. Excellent job by Pry, who is caught into that full clone at the moment. The bash going out onto Talby Tree as well, who's caught into a clone by Wallabear. Wallabear in a little trouble, though, caught into a full kidney shot. The full deep freeze going on to Absurge. Vassal has his Demon Soul, trying to counter pressure the best he can while his team's in a little bit of trouble. Absurge has no trinket. Wallabear down to 10% HP, and that's going to be it. The Ice Nova comes in from Raikou, and Capped EU going to take this game 2-0.
Yeah, North America striked first. Now Europe gets to strike back in this final series of today. What an awesome one nonetheless. And again, I don't feel like the score really represents the gameplay.
No, not at all. That was such an incredibly close match. We could hear from all the way over here at the caster desk. We could just hear the team of Capped EU just shouting in jubilation at that kill. Just able to catch Wallabear into that little bit of CC there just long enough to be able to secure themselves a kill, as well as this series, taking a 2-0 versus FolloweSports. And that was actually a pretty heavy turnaround towards the end there. FolloweSports was looking dominating for that entire match, and then Capped were like, no, actually, we're just going to win.
Yeah, well, that's what happens. They build the Incarnation, they use the Berserking, they use the Demon Soul, and they get a lot of damage out, and it looks scary for the R&D. But once those cooldowns fade, and they're able to sort of stabilize, the momentum and the pressure just completely shifts in the R&D's favor.
Yeah, it really does, and FolloweSports played their hearts out in that matchup. Nobody really getting caught off guard. It was really just Capped EU playing to the strengths of their comp, extending the game out, setting up the kills when there were no trinkets available, and Capped EU are going to feel pretty happy about that, and I think that means that they're going to be fighting Cloud9 tomorrow in a mirror.
Ooh, are they going to play a mirror, though?
I don't think so.
I don't think so either.
I think the Holy Paladins are going to get a chance to shine tomorrow.
Yeah.
That could be really, really exciting to see. I'm actually super excited for tomorrow. Don't forget, guys, that we will be back here tomorrow with even more games.
So excited.
Yeah, more of these games? Yes, please.
Yes,
Sign me up. All right, so we do have Jackson ready over at the analyst station for our Windows 10 game DVR replay.
Hey guys, what an action-packed last match, and we saw Capped EU, even with the potentially unfavorable map choice, work it to their advantage. Let's take a look at this replay here. So we know instantly on Blade's Edge, we're going to see the Warlock jumping off the bridge in any situation that he doesn't find favorable. Much like that, Wallabear is able to knock anybody off the bridge if he needs to do that as well. So what ends up happening, though, is that Wallabear has been holding onto his trinket a lot, at least during the first match, and then later on in the game, he started using his trinket to try to stay a little bit more offensive. You can see him using his Cyclone ability to peel, but also maybe freeze health pools on the enemy team. So we saw a lot of people get really low, but one of the things that happens with giving up your trinket to a combat rogue is you can get swapped to in an instant. And we saw Pry unleashing that combat rogue damage right when they needed it, which allowed them to score the kill. So we're going to have an interview with Healing Stat up next, but we're going to throw it to the casters while we get set up.
The 4 most terrifying words to anyone caught in a kidney shot are red buff killing spree.
Yep.
That That's what we saw happen right there, and that just completely evaporated all of Walter Bear's health right at that last second. Such a well-played match coming out from Team Capped EU. Of course, we do have the final brackets for today to go ahead and take a look at and break down how all of the games, the 4 series that we watched today actually went for us. Of course, the first series was SK Gaming versus Original Gangstar, SK Gaming taking that 2-0. Then later on, we had Tempo Storm versus Solari Gaming, and that was another 2-0 for Tempo Storm. So that means that our 2 upper bracket teams in Group A are going to be SK Gaming and Tempo Storm. And in the lower bracket, we're going to have Original Gangstar versus Solari Gaming.
And one of those teams is actually going to be completely eliminated from the tournament tomorrow. So a very high-stress situation for these guys. But let's go ahead and take a look at Group B really quick if we can. We did have Cloud9 against Do It For Fun. Cloud9 emerging victorious with the 2-0 victory. And then we had Capped EU against FolloweSports. Capped EU taking a 2-0 series as well. And a lot of these games, even if they were 2-0, that doesn't do them justice. They were amazing games. And in the lower bracket, of course, we have Do It For Fun against FolloweSports. That's going to be an amazing game as well, as both those teams are incredible. But one of their tournament lives is on the line tomorrow.
Yeah, and it would be really awful for them to end up losing and not being able to compete at BlizzCon next week. The series tomorrow are going to be epic. Like I said, Cloud9 versus Capped EU, North America versus Europe. They're going to finally get to prove who is, in fact, the best. And I believe on the winner side of the bracket, it's an EU versus NA as well between Tempo Storm and SK Gaming, Turbo Cleave versus RMD, or potentially Arcane Mage.
Yep.
I don't want to forget that the Arcane Mage is actually here.
Never forget.
Never forget the Arcane Dream. It lives on. All right, so we do have Jackson over at the analyst station for our winner's interview.
Hey guys, welcome to the analyst station. I am joined by Healing Stat, fresh off of their 2-0 victory over FolloweSports. Capped is definitely going to be playing on BlizzCon stage. And I wanted to ask you guys, you haven't been playing together with the team that you're playing with now for very long. How did you guys meet, and how have you built synergy?
So Villa and I have been playing together for a little while. We played a little bit last expansion. Initially, Shadowplay was by far the most dominant comp on the ladder. We played with another mage called Babo Mage, and we won everyone. But as gear progressed, comps like Turbo got stronger. RMD became a much more dominant comp, and we had to swap mage eventually to Raikou, who is much better in the RMD composition.
Awesome. So we hear it's a live studio, so we hear you guys yelling and screaming. And how does the team communication work with your team? It seems like as a healer, you might be in charge of defensive shot calling. We asked this earlier. Who's in charge of the team communication in general?
So fighting against this FLS is slightly different to some of the ones we meet in Europe, because they actually let us to have full resets because they don't see a win for themselves before dampening. So from their point of view, when we run away and reset, it's good for them because the dampening clock ticks further. For us, it's good because we get full mana, we get full cooldowns, we get to organize our game. So when we were doing these resets, it was often me calling, like, we need the blind on Feral here because his cooldown's up, we need to get away, I need to get a drink, although the whole team does help with this. When it comes to offensive gameplay, it really is between Riker and Prey. They both have big input on what they can do and what they can't do. Certainly on the damage front, Prey is the loudest. When he has damage, everyone in the studio knows he has damage. And that was enough to win us the game.
Awesome. So, with the clean sweep moving forward, it sounds like you guys might be playing Cloud9. And they also run RMD. Do you think you'll give them the NA versus EU RMD mirror or switch it up?
It's yet to be decided. We are 2-0 against them in RMD mirrors on the US ladder. However, Shadowplay is a really strong comp against RMD, so we'll leave it open. We'll see tomorrow.
Okay, awesome. So one last question. Even though you guys had, a pretty convincing victory in the series, I do want to ask just one last thing about that moment when you got just a sliver of health. What was going through your mind there, and what happened?
So this was a mistake on our part, actually, because in Skype we were calling go, go, go. The Feral happened to get me out at the time, and he was allowed to triple stun me. We were expecting, or I personally was expecting, the Feral and the lock to be peeled off me at this point, but there was a little bit of delay, and Feral damage is really bursty. When he opens like this, he can get me low really quickly, as you saw. And EU Druids have a little bit of tendency to act on the greedy side, I believe. So I did save my trinket for the triple DR stun, but it wasn't enough to get away.
Well, awesome. You survived that situation, and you have continued on in this tournament, so congratulations to you. Well done. We are going to take a short break, and then we'll be back for our goodbyes for the day.
All right, thank you so much. It was a really, really interesting interview from Healing Stat, aka Talbytree, which is his resto that he was playing in that last matchup. I thought it was really interesting his point about how when the resets were happening, because we saw a whole bunch of resets happening in that matchup. Of course, reset being when both teams pull away and they just sort of back off for a second. How the team of FolloweSports playing the Feral Lock Shaman, they were like, oh, this is good for us because we need to be able to get deep into dampening. Whereas Skill Capped with the RMD is like, no, this is good for us because we want to be able to pull back and get our cooldowns back up and go back in again. So it's really interesting, and this is one of the awesome things about these World Championships, is sort of seeing these NA and EU teams, which both ladders have very, very different sort of metas going on with them. So just seeing them clash against each other and who ends up coming out on top. In this case, it was Skill Capped.
One thing to talk about dampening too is although a lot of teams feel like it favors the compositions that do very spread pressure, it becomes a nightmare for a healer to deal through the single target damage of a rogue and a mage with the killing spree and the ice novas coming in. You can't keep people up with just Earth Shield and Riptide, so they actually have to channel, and it ends up sometimes costing them the game, and it's hard for them too in dampening.
Yeah, it definitely is. All the games today were exciting, and I'm sure that all of the games tomorrow are going to be equally as such. It was awesome to see the European, North American rivalries, and that is going to continue tomorrow as well. I just can't wait for it.
Yeah, of course, we are going to have Solari Gaming versus Original Gangstar. Then we will have FolloweSports versus Do It For Fun, Tempo Storm versus SK Gaming, and Cloud9 versus Skill Capped EU. This is everything that I wanted for Christmas, and it's not even Halloween yet.
I don't know how to respond to that, but yeah, you're going to have some good games tomorrow, absolutely.
Yeah. All right, so thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in today. That's going to be it from us over here at the caster desk. We're going to head back over to Jackson for one last sign-off.
All right, guys, believe it or not, that does bring us to the end of the day for our World of Warcraft Arena World Championships Day 1 matches. Now, we had some absolutely insane games today, and we're just getting started. So be sure to come hang out with us tomorrow, same time, same place. We'll be here, and so will the players for some more absolutely epic matches. Thanks for watching, guys. See you tomorrow.